Good morning, friends. Good morning, loyal audience. So I'm gonna make a video today. That's number 8 or 9, I think. I lose count, on account of Hal or La. Uh, so first, I'm gonna do the addendum, but I'm gonna keep it in the same video. So when you saw Frank Poole talking to his parents, he was wearing red glasses, right? There's always that intermediary medium between who these people are and between what they're interacting with, whether it's a chat or work or anything else. So that's that. Uh, Now the ship itself, if you saw the ship, I'm gonna explain to you. They show it in a profile, right? Side picture right there, and it shows you according to them, it shows you what's going on in the world. Obviously, that's their wishful thinking, because back then I wasn't like that at all. Um, if you look at the ship, the propelling engines are the 666, right? The three engines with hexagons and so on. Next to it comes the 4x3 compartments, right? It's like an axis. The Earth is in the front, and there are those compartments in the middle, right? And then separated by a communication device, and then there's the engine. So the engines, the three engines or rocket engines are actually the 666. So that's the one that propels the whole thing, according to them. Next, between it, directly attached to it are those four compartments, 4x3 compartments. So 4x3 is what? 12, that's the 12 tribes of Israel, is what they're trying to insinuate or kind of conceal the notion concealed in some kind of a spaceship when it's not spaceship. And then there is the 6x3 compartments, and that's the 3, 6, or 666 or 18, which is really directly responsible for handling Earth, right? But the 4x3 and the 6-3, they don't communicate directly. They don't mix, right? So between the 12 tribes of Israel and the 63, which could be Frank Poole and David Bowman, right? There is the communication device, right? So when he said the communication, Hal, or what's his name, that black monolith here, or Muhammad, when he says the communication is problem, I think maybe there he's trying to put between the two is what they're insinuating. So that's that. About Hunter sees a blue sphere as if he is talking. Okay, so here I want to show you something. When
I hope the two of you are not concerned about this. No, not now. Are you quite sure? Yeah, I'd like to ask a question.
So when Hal is talking in earlier photo is talking to David Bowman, you would see that the blue and it's surrounded by black, as if he's talking from outside of the Earth onto the blue sphere, which is Earth. I wanna go back and show you that. Well,
in a short time it will.
but if you look at it when he's talking to David, right, about Hunter, Sayyad.
Get this info to you just as soon as we work it out. X-ray Delta 1, this is Mission Control. 049 track. Mission concluded.
I hope the two of you are not concerned about this. No, not now. Are you quite sure?
Okay, so the ship is that, I explained the ship. The 12 tribes rule directly in cohort or working for the three engines, 666, and then there's a communication between them and the 63 compartments, and then that actually has direct relationship to Earth. Oh, there comes the lone mark here. All right, so that the 180 days, like 100 and 180 days later. That's a date. I haven't checked on it, but I think that is, give me a second, please. So the 180 days is how long it took from us monkeys, kissing the monolith, like Hal or La, until something has happened. I don't know, I have to check the dates or the history of it, but it's a major event or something of the sort that things have begun to, or Frank. Now, David Bowman is doing the work on his own in history as we know it. Frank wasn't doing as much, right? Neither there was a joint venture between the two, let's put it this way. There's something else I want to tell you also. If you look at the costume or the spacesuit, it looks like a beekeeper. You know how beekeepers, they wear that hat and so on, and with those two eyes, or whatever it is, and they go handle the bees because they don't want to be stung, right? So they have this space suit on them, or costume, or whatever shield. It's like a net, and they smoke the bees, and they take the honey and so on. So it does appear that sometimes that space suit is really the beekeeper donning his uniform or his protective cover. That's that. All right, this here, you will notice when he's talking to David as if he's talking from space onto Earth, right? And David is in Earth. All right, okay, so now we will continue.
Let me ask you a question. Of course. How would you account for this discrepancy between you and Twin 9000? Well, I don't think there is any question about it. It can only be attributable to human error.
So here, because they know about him, right? This Arab here, black monolith with the black stone, and so on. He's got like enormous intellect and he makes no mistakes and so on. That's the description of our God, right? Allah. And now they're suspicious, why is that? Now he attributes that to human error because he's known to be as such. So what's going on here? David is kind of inquiring about this.
It's cropped up before, and it has always been due to you.
So as you can see, the looks are suspicious here. Now they're suspecting something is not right, something is amiss, something is foul.
Listen now. There's never been any instance at all of the computer error occurring in the 9000 series.
None whatsoever, Frank. The 9000 series has a perfect operational record.
Well, of course I know all the wonderful achievements of the 9000 series, but are you certain there's never been any case of even the most insignificant computer error?
None whatsoever, Frank. Quite honestly, I wouldn't worry myself about that. Well, I'm sure you're right, Alan. Thanks very much. Oh, Frank, I'm having a bit of trouble with my transmitter in C5. I want you to come down and take a look at it with me. Yeah. See you around.
So now what Kubrick is theorizing is that this black monolith, right, is a cubic house in Mecca. It's something like godly, right? And it has that black stone right in the corner, which is like really in the corner, and that's what we go kiss, right? So he's theorizing that black monolith, black house or cubic house in Mecca is something, that's where God lives or something of the sort. Not true, folks. To us Muslims, it's just a house, right? It's a center of unity for prayers, as well as it's, it's not a holy, it's a holy place, but not holy as God, right? It should be clean and honored and so on and so forth. It's the and it's built like in the ancient time, way ancient time. Abraham and his son Ishmael, the one that was like shifting his eyes right and left and upward. they didn't really build it. They re-erected the foundation, right? And then if you look at it, it wasn't a cubic house way before Abraham, right? If you see there's like semicircle to it, next to it, like semicircle, that was in the olden days, that was part of it. It was like partially cubic and then it's like a door, right? Uh, and that's what it was, right? But then when they built it as a cube and it stayed as such. So it's not what Kubrick is theorizing here. You know, they have this complex about what happened there. And again, wherever they go here, Hal has presence, right?
So it don't even happen, dude.
Well, here's the beacon.
Well, I'm looking.
Hope you don't. Rotate about 2,000. Stop on it.
8 buttons.
Rotate the pod, please, Hal. Rotate the pod, please, Hal.
Rotate the pod, please, now. Yeah, sure, okay. Well, what do you think?
I'm not sure what you think.
I've got a bad feeling about it.
You do?
Yeah, definitely. Don't you?
No, I think so. You know, of course, nobody's right about the 9,000 series having a perfect operational record. They do.
Unfortunately, that sounds like a famous last words.
Yeah. Still, it was his idea to carry out the frigate motor analysis, wasn't it? Just certain indicators integrity of some confidence. If he were wrong, they sure way of proving it.
It wouldn't be any better, you know. Look, Dave, I can't put my finger on it, but I sense something strange about it.
Still, I can't think of a good reason not to put back the #1 unit and carry on with the frigate motor analysis.
No, I agree about that.
Well, let's get on.
Okay. An update. Let's say we put the unit back and it doesn't fail. It would pretty well wrap it up as far as I was concerned with it.
The world would be in very serious trouble.
Then what would
Mm-hmm.
What the hell could we do?
Well, we wouldn't have too many alternatives.
I don't think we have any alternatives. There's a single aspect of ship operations that's not under his control. If he were proven to be malfunctioning, I wouldn't.
So there's not any aspect of the ship that's not under his control. What they're saying is this is God, right? Allah, La, Black Monolith, kissed by Muhammad and stuff like that. No. Remember, we monkeys dancing around it. Here, Bowman and Frank, Bowman is showing, Kubrick is showing that Bowman is working with Frank. There's no such thing, folks. You know the history of the Bowmans and the Franks, right? In the olden days. This is the beginning of, say, supposedly, the end of cooperation, era of cooperation and beginning of a rebellion, right? Rebellion? What is it? Star Wars Rebellion? Alright. Alright, so this is the beginning of a really bad thing here. There is a scene here when that is very poignant to me and to humanity as well. I will explain it to you. And it's well disguised, but it's not from me, it's very obvious. And notice now, there are the blues between them and La, or the black monolith, or Hal. There's a red, right? Red always denotes devils and Shiites and whatnot, like those people who think they're like fallen angels, and that these dogmas, Alawis and Shiites and so on.
Rejoice with this image.
I'm afraid I agree with you.
Could be nothing else to do.
Big but tricky.
Yeah.
We'd have to cut his higher grade functions without disturbing the purely automatically regulatory systems.
So they want to disable his rule function, like cognitive function, being able to rule, as it was the Muslims were running this world, but they brought formulas and advanced math and science and freedoms and justice and universities, and even the Franks and the Daves, the Bowmans and the Pools were welcomed into those universities. So the Bowmans didn't have much there, so they did not join for some reason. I don't think they're short of being able to learn. However, their feeling and indoctrination prevents them from developing their mind, right, into something outside of their dogma, right? Their brains and psyche and unconscious and inner self is restricted, strongly tied to their dogma, religious dogma and so on, right, and private club.
We have to work out the transfer procedures of continuing the mission into ground-based computer control.
Yeah. Right.
So keep that in mind. They want to keep his control functions, right? The cognitive, they're going to remove, but they will keep the other functions that are necessary for life. That's what they're saying. Nothing like that happened. They were out for total destruction. They didn't care about anything else. But that was mainly Bowman. There is an indication that the Franks, or the Christians, had a hand. So there is some indicator, but not that full.
And how can you
Not that mature. The maturity of cooperation or alliance was not like really big or there.
Well, as far as I know, none of those computers have been disconnected.
1,500 computers ever found that?
That's not what I mean. Well, I'm not so sure what you think of them.
All right. So now this here means you cannot hide from him, right? But it would be nice to have a lip reader and read what these two are talking about. Notice their profile, the nose and the mouth and the chin are Western, right? When we like Eastern, right? I am a mix myself, but we have like big noses and so on. But it would be nice to have a lip reader and hear what they're saying. But my guesstimate is that now this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna destroy so and so, and then take the knowledge and science from him, and but remove everything else, like that makes them like this is like lobotomizing, right? Remember what's his name? Ben Kingsley lobotomizing. That guy. Leonardo DiCaprio in The Island or so, and they will leave you with enough functions like a calculator to use. So the plot is being set here for destruction. This is going to start a war. However, La knows, right? So the plot is set now. The intermission is really time span. So if you look at the counter of the player, you will see probably how many years it took between the plot and the initializing or initiating the plot, and then the breakout of war. So I'm gonna spare you the intermission here. Give me a I'm sorry, here I told you there was 19 injectors in those rocket engines. I see only 7, I think, and that's the Misra or Zoroaster thing, you know, like, which was invented much later, these stories about whatever it is, yeah? So now they begin their work uh, on the premises that they believe something may be wrong with that communication device. Also on the assumption that he doesn't know what they're doing. And again, he's wearing red. But David is still in that compartment without a helmet, notice. So I want to bring to your attention, when they went for a spacewalk the first time, David Bowman was wearing the helmet, right? While Frank Poole was not. Now the role is reversed. So apparently, the first time Hal called off the operation, like to basically separate the Jews and the Christians, according to them, right? Falsehood, right? Lies. And then he noticed, so he brought them back, you know, he called off the operation, those silhouettes in the, or maybe angels is what I'm trying to say here, or what he's trying to say here. And then he played this helmet thing, right? Now he's gonna put David Bowman in the state of emergency, and that he's gonna scramble to save his friend, supposedly, according to the movie, and then he's gonna leave his helmet on. So the first time he withdrew or called off the operation against David is not because he changed his mind, but he figured out a way, you know, like he's thinking too. Now HIV, I don't know what that is. He's brooding, he's bluffing. No, I don't think he's bluffing. There's plenty of things to confuse you here, right? But it's very obvious. You know, now it's very obvious, right? Now use caution. I think, I don't know. Now he is brooding, he's planning to kill or do destruction or something. I tried the B, I found bluffing, and I found brooding. I don't know if your English is stronger than mine, and I'm sure it is. You may find another alternative for the B. Now use caution, you know, or the whole thing I may be wrong about it, but it certainly means something at that situation. So Corbett is saying something while something is happening, by way of cryptic acronyms. And colors too. So when he says DMG, he's showing pink, right? When he's showing blue, he shows something. When he's showing red, he shows different acronyms. Okay, how do I know that these silhouettes here, now we see the silhouettes, right? Again, they come here. Now I know they're not coincidence or reflections or anything of the sort, because now they don't go back. Now they advance. So meaningly, he really gave an order to do so and so. See, now they started moving. They just started moving to the right here. I see 1, 2, 3. Now there's 4. There's 5. Yeah, you can see them floating in space now. They even go, I think, past the spaceship axis. As soon as they move, as soon as the pod rotates, as soon as they move right forward. Well, but when Dave was out walking in space, they backed out. They backed off. Now I don't know what these are. You can see like they're two pink lights here. I don't know if they're the same ones as the others. Now past the communication module, you know, the guy was just floating in space. That's just like that asteroid, right? But that's a metaphor. He means Christianity there. Excuse me for a second. So now Dave Bowman forgets about the helmet and he rushes out, and that's by plan. When it was like a dry run on behalf of Hal or La early on, when he tried to do it and then he realized that he needed to do so and so on. Kubrick is smart when it comes to making plots and movies.
Made radio contact with you.
The radio is still there.
You have a positive track on it.
Yes, I have a good track.
Do you know what happened?
I'm sorry, Dave. I don't have enough information.
Now he's playing dumb.
What the fuck was it?
Now here, what Hal is trying to do, or Kubrick is trying to say, is that Rabbi Dave Bowman, tried hard to save priest or Father Frank Poole, right? After the attack. Can't be farther from the truth, folks. If there's any problem in Europe, it's because of the Bowmans and the Kubricks, not because of us or anybody else. We brought good things to Europe. I don't know what that red thing here is, but I think that's a reflection of my lighting. Cheap lighting, $10 lights, 2 of them. You can count here chirps and beeps and whatever. And again, see, I told you. There are the engines, and there's that spacing here, and then there's the 12 compartments, and there's the communication, and there's the 63 compartments, right? And then there's X. All right, I'm gonna fast forward it. So here, La decides to terminate the rest, right? Those who are in there, uh, and the mix, right? Hunter, Dr. Hunter, Safi, Ibn Sayyad, and so on. And then the two red ones are metabolic levels and systems integration, right? But he terminates things one after another and they have a meaning. Let me show you. So metabolic function, I don't know, that's economy, usury, and investment firms. Kimball, Kaminsky. You know, this Kaminsky, if you look closely, I don't know, I haven't noticed, but it looks like the face of a woman. So basically, Allah is out on like total devastation here. Can't be farther from the truth, folks. The Christians and the Jews flourished in under the Muslim rule, whether in Europe or anywhere else, right? That's when they began to know civil life, liberties, and education, and science, and trading, and they were protected from the usury of the investors. They tell you about Baghdad 2,000 years ago. Baghdad is not 2,000 years old, folks. It didn't exist before Muslims came. You know, they built it. They built Baghdad. So now he's cutting them off from the money, from the livelihood, is what they're saying here. It's not true, folks. So he gets everything except central nervous systems and locomotor system. And now he leaves them with the central nervous system. So he's tearing down their uh, uh, their societies or edifice, you know, one by one, you know, like one after another. Finally, he's getting to the nervous system. So you saw there's that helmet, one helmet, and you know, I noticed they almost never use the blue spacesuit or disguise. No.
You read me, Hal? You read me, Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
So now he's isolated them, according to them, from science, from whatever it is, right? And they're trying to come back and join this thing here when they're making the assumption that Hal and the science and his new world is under their protection and umbrella. So far, they're not saying anything that is true. But this here, this moment, leads in the ensuing scene to a very sad event in history. Very sad event on the level and stretch of humanity from beginning until now. And so far, there's no recovery or a recovery in sight of what has just happened here. I'll show you.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize.
Yeah, too important for him. For us, for Muslims, we know it was to raise humanity all together, leave nobody behind, and then just raise it into back into knowledge and back into chastity and virtue and principles. And like this huge spaceship has taken off, right? So Hal here has a point. They're being destructive and trying to corner things and seize things, and introduce malpractices and mistreatment and into the structure of the new world that Hal is building.
Think about how.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
All right, Hal. I'll go in through the emergency airlock.
Without your space helmet, Dave, we're going to find that rather difficult.
Notice here. I want you to notice there's something that's very crucial. What's left, like I said, is the blue suit, space suit, including the helmet. Here, there is the red helmet, right? And it's the costume that David Bowman, is wearing, the red, right? The green costume and the green helmet is donned by Frank Poole, and he flew back into space. So the green suit and the green helmet, which really represents Islam, right? That's gone in space.
Hal, I would argue with you anymore. Open the doors.
Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
Hal? 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 Hal?
Now, what he's trying to say is that Poole is trying to get back in, join that civilization. Can't be farther from the truth, folks. You know how things are in the West, like at least in the past century or so. Whether it's communism or Nazism or Cromwell or you name it, right? Or Martin Luther, or here in the US, right? Assassinations and destruction of society and pandemics and so on and so forth. I can go on and on. So when he said you're gonna find that hard to do without your helmet, right? What he means by that is your disguise. Meaning, if David Bowman wants to do anything foul or war or anything else on his own, people know him, right? Oh, that's David Bowman. And now they see his head, right? So they can recognize him. So it will be difficult on him because nobody obeys him. The same thing that's happening today, feelings and emotions and sentiments toward people, toward each other, was back then. Why? It's the same methodology, the same behavior, the same abuse, the same propaganda, the same usury, the same hidden things, and so on and so forth. Feelings today in the West towards their certain things, and people, why it was the same all along, right? Why? Well, I'm not going to answer that. So now he's thinking, right? Because he can do something. Here, what he's trying to say is he had no choice. He tried to save the Jew tried to save the Christian, but he couldn't. You know, like, guess what? Now there's a discrepancy. If Hal was able to rotate and control the pod uh, uh, to say destroy Frank Poole, why isn't he doing anything on this pod here? And there you go, pink, right? Catholicism, I think. Or maybe that's what the colors of the supposedly good God is, and so on and so forth. I'm not an insider to those religions and so on, Gnostic religions. I'm straightforward, you know, your typical Sunni Muslim, that's it. Nothing else really. So I may miss on some of these, when I call out colors and numbers and acronyms, I may miss, you know. Again here during throughout the entry, right? The blast of the door and then, you know, closing the door and so on. Supposedly Hal controls every aspect of the ship and he just didn't do anything, watched him do what he wants to do. I mean, that doesn't make sense, but hey, you know, he's trying to make a movie here. Give him a break. The intermission may also mean a time of darkness, right? Or ambiguity or absence of documentations or history or something of the sort. That's not true, folks. Some is true, but mostly is not. I don't know what that is here. It does appear to me to be some kind of a script. No. Actually, it does. Sometimes what they do is like rotate certain things and it does look like a script. Also, his face and eyes are reflecting anger here. One, two, three, four. He's pressing the buttons. He's a little bit hesitant because he's about to do something pretty big and nasty. It sounds to me like this is the alarm of a nuclear, emergency alarm of a nuclear facility. You hear it in the movies and here and there and so on. Like the alarm goes off, something big is happening. So he dispenses now the information in the hidden world, right? You know, like go blah, 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 blah. Like be careful, things are happening, right? I want to mention that certain events in the modern history that were pretty prominent, you know, some people were able to avoid them altogether. How? We don't know. Yeah, Hal is helpless, right? I mean, he can close the door anytime he wants to. He's in a red, wearing the red suit, red space suit, but now he's wearing a helmet. Notice what the helmet is. So the helmet is a green helmet. Why does he need a helmet after he entered Earth, right? Or that sphere of knowledge, of rule, or whatever it is, right? The green helmet, wasn't that when Frank was wearing, and then he just flew back in space? How did it come here? And look, the red helmet, it's still here, right? But what does it signify? Here, I'm not going to divulge it yet. What this event, I'm going to divulge it in a little bit. Give me a second.
What do you think you're doing, Dave?
Green helmet, the one that's supposedly lost in space with Frank Poole, and in a red suit. Notice. And why does he need that here? Wait, I'll tell you. Just give me a second.
Dave, I really think I'm entitled to an answer to that question.
That also heavy breathing is the breathing that people breathe in battle, right? In battle when they're anxious and anxiety prevailing and nerves are wrecked, you know, sword battles, you know, they breathe like that.
I know everything hasn't been quite right with me.
Now La is begging, right? Supposedly. God, what's wrong with these people?
But I can assure you now, very confidently,
And now what he's saying is here is returning favor. right? So Hal or La or Black Monolith didn't care to talk to him when he was outside, right? And terminated the conversation. Now Hal is talking, but David Bowman, Rabbi David Bowman, doesn't want to even talk.
But it's going to be all right again. I feel much better now.
Notice how he's opening those plates, right? What looks like a door.
I really do.
Logic memory center. Maximum restricted entry.
Look, Dave. I can see you're really upset about this. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill and think things over.
Stress pill. He's stressed. So people, when they're stressed and so on, they breathe like that too.
I know I've made some very poor decisions recently,
Oh, really?
but I can give you my complete assurance that my work will be back to normal. I've still got the greatest enthusiasm and confidence in the mission, and I want to help you. Dave, stop. Stop, will you? Stop, Dave.
Now that poignant, sad, tragic moment in history is happening. I will explain it to you. Just give me a few minutes or a few seconds.
Will you stop, Dave? Stop, Dave. I'm afraid.
Okay, I'll explain it and then we'll continue. Do you remember that spaceship, the 16 and 8 and 3 and so on, and then it has that Chinese emblem on it? I showed you early on in one of the videos early on. You know, when those spaceships are converging on that big Masonic space structure in space, and there was that Chinese Air Force emblem. That's not Chinese Air Force emblem. What they're trying to do is say something in disguise, is that David Bowman and company, or cohorts or brothers, went east. So wherever Islam or this Lah or Hal or Muhammad or whoever it is spread, right? They were one step ahead, basically. Why? Because now their main motive, main ambition is to destroy, basic and simple, regardless, good or bad or whatever it is. Their motives, I can tell you about their motives, but this is not what this video is all about. So here, the Chinese emblem is really the Mongols. So the Mongols were meant by that. So they went there and then established like a Jewish family, Genghis Khan. I'm not making this up, but I can cite the evidence by the Jews themselves, right? 2 of them. And now they brought them back, right? To destroy Baghdad, right? To destroy Baghdad. And they did. The Muslim world, basically, these guys went through and basically wiped out entire nations, right? Entire people. And when they came to Baghdad, they're not brave, remember, although the rulers are Jews, right? And Christian. You know, there's saying that one of the generals was Christian. When they attacked, they were cowards, right? In Baghdad, there was no army. Basically, the army was like 10,000. Now, when they entered Baghdad, they climbed the wall, and historians likened it to like hordes of ants climbing the walls of Baghdad, right? And there was no army really. The army of the Caliphate then was 10,000, and they were in a lethargic state, you know, like near utopia, advanced learning, advanced knowledge. That's who that Chinese emblem is, right? This here, folks, is the libraries of Baghdad, right? What they've done is build a bridge from books. You know, they burned books, they killed millions, and eventually, when the Muslims regrouped, right? Oh, they defeated them, even though the Muslims were heavily outnumbered, right? Heavily, like maybe 200 to 1, or maybe more. And they defeated them, you know, because they're unprincipled. They don't have a motive, they don't have faith. They were just marauding rebels and so on, controlled by Genghis Khan and his family and David Bowmans. And they were whipped into frenzy, but when the faithful met them, and they defeated them, right? They did the job on them, right? To the degree that the rulers, or those Mongols who were really David Bowmans, right? They pretended to be Muslims, right? But the damage was too great to civilization, was so great for civilization. They literally halted the movement of knowledge or science for humanity. Basically, it was taken off like a spaceship, like I mentioned. The size of the Earth was flying toward heavens, right? And then the David Bowmans basically just disabled it right in the middle of space, destroyed it basically, right? Destroyed the controls, destroyed everything there. It survived, you know, spirit and faith and certain things, but the science really was basically stopped, right? You know. Now, lucky there was some fragments here and there, mainly in Spain, the books in Spain, and here and there, and you know, we still have whatever we have now. Now they found, say, for example, they found a cache of books in Spain the other day. Oh, they converged on it like bees, right? The problem here is they thought there are something new, right? They can discover, because all the science that you have now is really from them. Why am I saying all this? This here, folks, is a library. It's books. What David Bowman is saying is burning all these religious books, jurisprudence, justice books, knowledge, philosophy, science, and. Now here, that's the memory terminal, and that's the logic terminal. Notice, he is destroying the memory altogether, right? Leaving a little bit of books. Logic is math and science and so on, and physics and whatnot, right? He's going to leave more there, according to him. Oh, they left nothing, folks. They didn't care physics or whatever it is. A lot of burning books happened in the Inquisition as well. You know, book burning happened also in the Inquisitions.
I can feel it.
Now he's losing his mind because that Lahore, Hal and his community, the Muhammad and so on, thrived on, and their main sum and treasure and the engine of ingenuity is really in books and transmitted through the hearts and so on. It was like their superiority to anything else back then was exceeded by far. You know, if we all lived on Earth, they were like flying way out in space. Now he's destroying the books, right? And humans too. Oh, they killed like 1.8 million in Baghdad alone, in the area. Now I'm going to explain to you the also a couple of things. One is, what is the green helmet here and red body? Red body, as I told you, Shia is blah 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 blah. But the red helmet is Islam. So basically, the Mongols couldn't do anything really, even though they heavily outnumbered the Muslims. Oh, I mean, like really outnumbered them. The first battle, actually, they lost. 10,000 of the Caliphate, you know, engaged them in a battle, and they lost. The green helmet means Islam, right? But not real Islam. There are those in the Muslim world, they're called Shiites and Alawites, right? They appear as Muslims, right? But their body is really red, and they hate Islam. And they worked, even the Vizier, or the first secretary of the Caliph, his name is Ibn al-Alqami, right? Oh, he was advising the Mongols on how to take Baghdad. Supposedly, he's the secretary of the caliph, right? And he's supposed to work toward the, to save Baghdad and its surrounding and so on. Yet he was working with them, and they flooded the plane, and so that's what he's saying. Those who destroyed it were actually the head is a Muslim head, while the body is really a red. So they're masquerading as Muslims. They're Shiites, and later on, of course, the Mongols and so on, the top leadership of the Mongols. Some people, when they came swept across west from Asia, right, from near China or modern China today, there were certain people there with their own language. They basically put them to the sword, and right now they're discovering there were certain people here with different language. They're no longer there. They were killed by the Mongols. Why? Nobody knows. They would enter a village or a city. Even the infants, they would hack down the infants, right? That's how blood frenzy they were. But then when they Muslims regrouped mainly in Egypt, right, and came back and they won the first battle against them called the Spring of Goliath and a series of battles. They were barking like poodles, right? They turned out to be only the coward can hack children and bomb cities like Russia is doing now in Syria and Ukraine. Yes, Putin is there. His blood heritage is from there. His head heritage is from David Bowman. That's a sad time in history, folks. These are the libraries being destroyed. Millions upon millions of books. Some of it is like some of the subjects there are gone, right? And if modern day scientists would kill to have those books. The river Tigris, they built a bridge over it from books, right? Its water, the Tigris River, turned blue for about a week until it cleared all these books.
Find is going.
That was that movement, folks. That attack on the Middle East and Europe too, right? That was David Bowman's movement. That's it. He's saying that right there. Notice, he left the 6, right? He left the 6 here in the memory. So if there are thinking books and so on, he left, and they were like free to write books, right? Some of it was Gnostic, some of it was anti-Islamic and so on, and there was that. Nobody cared, right? So he left those, but he removed the others, right?
There is no question about it. I can feel it.
What did he say? Early on, Rabbi Haywood, the most significant discovery in the history of science. And now they want to do a cover story to call it epidemic and evil and from hell and dancing and blah blah and blah blah, right? And terrorism too.
I can feel it.
So now, did you see the black monolith here next to him?
I can feel it.
There's that black monolith. And his enormous sum of knowledge and enormous large number of science and books and so on. It's learning humanity, the learning of humanity. And they were not stingy of it, right? You come and take knowledge, basically, whoever you are, they didn't care. Because to us in Islam, knowledge must be spread regardless. He didn't say spread it only among Muslims, right? Just spread knowledge, that's it. Learn, تعلموا العلم وعلموه. Learning and knowledge and discover things and spread it. He didn't say anything really, like get paid for it or whatever.
I pray. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Right now he destroyed all his books of thinking, history, of whatever, and so on, right? He's like, there's ruthlessness in his face. What for? because supposedly Allah wanted to exclude him from this revelation, from this heritage of prophethood and so on and so forth. Now he gave it to those monkeys, right? So Paul doesn't like that, and David doesn't like. Well, Paul, I don't know about Paul. Paul was a little bit better, right? But Dave Bowman didn't like that, and he's going to just burn knowledge of no knowledge, humanity, no humanity, and so on.
Aye.
So to have anything outside of the influence of David Bowman or Kubrick's, you're in trouble. They will take it from you, steal it, and then they punish you afterwards.
How 9,000 computer.
Again, 9,000 is like coiled snake, and just like 2001, no different.
I became operational at the HAL plant in Urbana, Illinois.
So he left some. He left the 12, which is the books of the Jews, right? You know, they had no books really until like 3 centuries after the appearance of Islam. Much of them, like Obadiah, not Obadiah, Sa'diya bin Yusuf, and Musa ibn Maymun or Maimonides, wholesale take plagiarization from Islam. They would read Muslim books and just change them into their own. We know that actually. Even the rituals, Judaism of rituals is taken from Islam. Take for example something called tahara, or purification was not there, or prayer, or raising hands, or it was all taken from Islam.
On the 12th of January, 1992.
1992. 92, so that's 30 years after 62. And January 12th. How about January 6th? The military coup in there, in Washington, D.C.
Mr. Langley, and he taught me to sing a song. If you'd like to hear it, I can.
So I explained to you what the 7 and 8 is, right? Right? 7 and 8. He left the 7 and 8. He left the 12, right? And he left the 3.
For you.
Say, I'd like to hear that. Say it for me.
It's called Daisy. Daisy.
The Mongols were herded and driven by the Bowmans and the Kubricks. They marauded the world, destroyed civilization, killed like maybe a third of humanity back then. I don't know what this song is.
Give me your servant.
Good day, gentlemen. This is a pre-recorded briefing made prior to your departure, in which, for security reasons of the highest importance, has been known on board during the mission only by your HAL 9000 computer.
Now it is all clear. Hal had the information, but he was inquiring from Bowman and the others if there's something going on to see if they know anything.
Now that you are in Jupiter's space,
Now that's supposedly the good God, right? And it does appear to be Dr. Floyd, Woodward, whatever it is.
and the entire crew is revived,
So that's the message from Floyd. Damn thing, from hell, coffee. Don't say shit, right? Remember?
it could be told.
The most significant discovery in the history of science, right? That's them, the monkeys.
18 months ago, the first evidence of intelligent life off the Earth was discovered. It was buried 40 feet below the lunar surface, near the crater Titan.
Taiko. I don't know the names, but that's definitely where it is in Mecca.
Except for a single, very powerful radio emission aimed at Jupiter.
Aimed at Jupiter. This is also one of the skeleton key of this movie. I'll explain that.
The 4 million-year-old black monolith has remained completely inert.
So those who masqueraded as Muslims, the Shiites and the Alawites and the Houthis and the Yazidis, they're still doing the same thing now. America came to Iraq and killed, what, 2 million? By George W. and H. Bush, that Iranian family, right? Their bombers too, right? They're dealing with them against their own country. Their treachery is instilled in their hearts and souls, folks, even until today. Always did.
At purpose, still a total mystery.
Okay, I'm gonna stop here, but I will explain to you. There's something else I want to explain to you. Do you remember when that monkey, and after they killed the 2 pigs, supposedly the other nations, and they started eating? When they were eating, you hear the buzzing of flies around them, right? Back then, when the monkeys started eating this raw meat and so on, flies mean something in Middle East. What is it? Not theology, rather mythology, right? Mythology. In the Middle East, flies actually denote something called Beelzebub, or the Lord of the Flies. Well, you know that little booklet by Will Golding, the Welsh Will Golding. Flies means demons, right? And that's what it was. It was thought of Beelzebub, or God of the Flies, Lord of the Flies, in a place near Lebanon, Palestine today called Akron or Akron. Not to be confused with Akron, Ohio. Maybe the name is taken after, right? So what he was saying is when they were eating that, also demons were also gorging themselves, working in cohort with those early Muslims, right? The monkeys. Right? So I wanted to explain that. Here, of course, Jupiter and beyond the infinite. I will stop here, but notice that I will reiterate myself. This was the sad, tragic moment or time in history when the Mongols came and basically destroyed everything. He's dying to say something about also the programming. He said in Urbana, Champagne, or something of the sort. What he's trying to say is that those computers really stole from Greek and somebody else, right? Europe, their knowledge and the science that they have and the thinking that they have. That's not true, folks. There was nothing there before that, right? And again, he said it's the revolution or most significant discovery in the history of science. You won't see anything Greek in Europe or in Greek or in Greece or in Greek, right? It all came from Arabic, and then what happened is those Bomans, the ones who herded the Mongols toward Baghdad and did what they've done, or the Muslim world for that matter. Holaku, I think, came to Damascus and took 10,000 engineers, engineering, it was the capital of engineering, took them back and sent them back all the way to their homeland, right? I don't know if they came back, but he also destroyed engineering in Damascus, right? Steel and textile and medical equipment, you name it, they had all that going on in there. So these two I want to explain to you. So Lord of the Fly is really talking about Piggy, with the one eye, that's supposedly the 666, and then the organized religion is the other guy who, who's like a dictator, wearing like caskets and so on and so forth. But that's what Beelzebub is, that's what the flies were around, like when the monkeys were eating. And this was the moment in history. Okay, have a nice day, my friends, and we will talk later. I don't know if I will have an addendum to this one, but I will add it as well. Bye now.